All right, all right, all right. Okay, let's try that again. All right, all right, all right. I had to take a sip of water real quick because my throat was kind of dry, and it went like, all right, all right, all right. Oh no, I can't speak. But it's time, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, give me a sec. Denim wants to be a part of the conversation, but he has no idea what the 90s are like. So let me just go ahead and remind him that he was only born 3 years ago. So give me a sec. All right, we're ready. Ladies and gentlemen, it's good to see all of you. We're going to be having a discussion about the 90s because this was a suggestion of a topic that we could go over by one of my very own moderator's children because, obviously they were not born during the time of the 90s and they kind of wonder what the 90s was like. This was the age of CD-ROMs. This was the age when the World Wide Web was only being used by a couple million people, not by literally everyone who has an internet connection. We didn't even have Wi-Fi back then. We had landline telephones that also incorporated our internet. It was when we started to get the PlayStation and Nintendo stuff. And like there's so much. Hold on, let me just do this. Yo, D-Train, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. Anime Gamer, good to see you as well. I heard that you were trying to find the Discord link. Heard that you trying to find the Discord link over to the Discord. As always, it's in the description of the channel, and it's always in the description of every video and stream that I do. So, and let me know if that link still works. Mm. Blockbuster, my goodness. I remember I remember playing some of my best games on the Nintendo 64, renting them from Blockbuster. But there's so many things about the 90s. So hold on, let me pull this up real quick because that it was a transformative age for a lot of us. I'm older than Google. Kid one. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. The generation nowadays will think many of us are old simply because we say, hey, we're older than a lot of the search engines that are on the internet right now. Like the generations today don't know nothing about ask.com or even Ask Jeeves. They don't even know nothing about the Microsoft Paperclip helper whenever you're using some of their programs earlier on. Now they just have regular tutorials that you can just easily go through. They don't know nothing about the paperclip. They don't know nothing about the purple monkey. They don't know nothing about these little companions we would have on our desktop. They know nothing about that. They know nothing about how we would get computer monitors, and they were essentially all-in-ones, and they were just these really massive televisions that were just essentially all-in-one computers. They don't know nothing about starting up a PC, and you just hear the tone go dong, and then you get the Windows. My access to computers goes back as far as my first instance being Windows 95. You know, when it starts up, it's the 8-bit image of the little window, but it's really, really pixelated because this is before we got like this is before the age of high definition, before HD. We had 360. 360p was our HD back then. Blocky polygon graphics for video games, that was our Blu-ray levels. We didn't even have Blu-rays wasn't a thing until like the 2000s. We had DVDs, and before that we had VHS. They don't know about watching a movie all the way through, and then when you got to the credits, you either see it all the way to the end, get the little copyright, anti-piracy stuff at the end, and the little extra stuff, then the screen would go blue, or depending on your VCR setup, it would go blue, and then it would stop, and then it would just rewind the whole thing all the way to the very beginning. That's how we enjoyed our movies from multiple times. We didn't have no remotes where we could just hit a button and just go pick the scene that we wanted. Who remembers watching a DVD and remembering the scene selection option? Mind you, that's further down the line. We're focusing on 90s. 90s, they don't know nothing about the Yellow Page phone books. Exactly. If you wanted to find out where a person was, their number was in the Yellow Pages. It wasn't like, hey, can I get your number? Can I get your number and I'll put it in my phone? You didn't have that. Hold on. This phone stand is so useful because there's a space underneath it that allows it to basically have the charge cable up there, but I can still have it propped up. This is so useful. This is the reason why I buy stuff. Well, not buy stuff, but this is the reason why I put up stuff on Throne that is incredibly useful, and I'll be using it because of its practicality, more so than just leisurely stuff. Even though I got some stuff for leisure that's up there, I greatly appreciate the practical stuff you guys have been sending me because it's actually useful. But we didn't have no cell phones back then. Wi-Fi, what's that? Bluetooth, what's that? You have all these different devices that generations have no idea of. Having to play a game by changing the channel on an old TV. Yes, there was a button to change from the movie you were watching. Actually, no. There wasn't even that. Who remembers the yellow, red, and white cables? If your TV didn't have enough inputs for you to be able to put that in there, it was being occupied by either your VCR or something else, you would have to take those cables out and switch them with your game cables. And if your TV was huge or in an enclosed space, you had to make yourself remember where those inputs were while you were messing with them in the back and hope that you were putting the right plugs in where they needed to go for you to see your game. I know because I did this all the time. Yes, the ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise cords. We didn't even have like the blue and green ones because that just felt like fanciness, and that came up much later on. But who remembers those cables? We didn't have HDMI. We didn't have built-in HDMI ports in our TVs. We didn't get flat screens until many years later. A flat screen TV was seen as rich people's stuff. If you grew up in the suburbs and you went to public school and your most fond moments were going outside, you probably didn't get a flat screen TV until you got much older and your family's finances was way higher than it was when you were a kid. So, and me, I'm enjoying a flat screen now, but I didn't always have it. I had big TVs that I had to really put some strength into to even move a certain way. And only then they were put on surfaces that were sturdy. I had like this big giant cabinet when me and my family lived in Louisville that I've had ever since I was a kid, and we kept it with us wherever we traveled. And those jokers were heavy. But growing up in the 90s, we had so much. Qushu, did you have the handheld Game Boy? Yes, I had the green one. I had the original green Game Boy. I know there was a gray one, but the green one was mine. It's in storage someplace, and when I was a kid, I didn't properly understand the right way to take care of stuff. So I kind of kept using my Game Boy until the batteries inside of it corroded the inside springs. And then it got worse because I broke the battery cover on it, and I just covered it up with like brown tape to keep the batteries inside. So yeah, I had the original Game Boy. I played my games that my parents bought me was Disney's Pinocchio, and I had a hard time beating that game, and Chess Master. Didn't have too many other games other than that. But yeah, I had the original Game Boy. I remember playing PlayStation 1 because that was in the year that we got stuff from PlayStation, we got stuff from Nintendo, we got stuff from everywhere. I don't think Xbox was even a thing until much later on. So even then, Xbox was late to the party because their time to strike while the iron was hot was in the 90s. So let me see here. Let's see, technology, because I had a whole thing I had to set up. So yeah, CD-ROMs was one of the biggest forms of media in the 90s. CD-ROMs, like generations today won't understand that we didn't have like Spotify. We didn't have like Amazon Music. We didn't have like instant access to music on our phones. We had CD-ROMs that we had to put in individually into either or stereos, or if you were in a car that had a CD tray, you put that one in there. We didn't get cars that had multiple CD tracks until later on. You just had Nintendo and Sega games? Yeah. Actually having to change the battery in Game Boys because chargers for them didn't exist. Exactly. We didn't have rechargeable batteries until later on. We didn't have systems that could recharge themselves until later on. Video game guidebooks? Bro, what you mean? Video game guides were just like the creme de la creme. It made you feel empowered if you had a guide to help you out with stuff, because back then, we didn't even have game guides online because the internet was still in its infancy. So we had to learn how to play games. Find out secrets from either ourselves or other people who played. This is before Game Facts. This is before Game Winners. Bet some of y'all didn't think I knew about Game Winners, did you? This is before we had gaming journalism sites, before we even had gaming journalism. This was before we could go on the internet, look up how to find this thing in this game, and several hundred sites would just pop up. This cough still wants to... I will not be beaten while I'm talking about the 90s today. This is before we had access to the internet that could basically tell us everything we needed to know about a game. This is well before then. Making our own CDs... What you mean? What you mean? Hold up! What do you mean? What you mean? What do you mean? What you mean? What you mean? My closet's got tons of CDs inside. All burned. Burned CDs of different types of music. Different types of music that my grandfather burned for me. And here's the thing, look at this. Maxwell CDR. 80 minutes worth of stuff you could put on there. 700 megabytes of space. This was seen as huge, and I got tons of them. Tons of them. Tons of these types of CDs, and I made them. Oh, yes, Toonami! Give me a sec, I got another one. I remember making all sorts of CDs for myself in the early days of the internet, saving web pages to CDs And this was before. No, this was much later on when I was really getting into One Piece. This thing really wants to just rest in my lungs, but I will not have it. But yeah, Toonami. Who remembers watching Cartoon Network in the 90s? And before we even got Adult Swim, you would get the last cartoon that would play before what? 6, 7 o'clock? You would get the last cartoon that would play. Hot tea? I'll get some. Have saved cars for the first PlayStation gen. Yeah. PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 2 memory cards. I still got mine. Looney Tunes. Yes. Okay. Right here. Real quick. Because there's enough of the charge. So I'm going to go through some of these things technology-wise. So technology, we had like CDs and the internet. The internet was launched in the 90s, and at the time, only a couple million people were using it. It wasn't worldwide. So with that, we saw, prominent sites that launched during the 90s was IMDb, which we still use today, eBay, which people still use today, Amazon launched in the 90s. Not at the very beginning, but in 1994. Bro, this means that I can say I'm older than Amazon. I'm older than the entire company of Amazon. I'm older. I'm older than Amazon. I'm older than eBay. I'm older than IMDb. I'm older than Yahoo. I'm older than Google. I'm older than Netscape. I am older than all of these things. I am older than the MP3. I'm just looking. Did anyone else have a Walkman? I remember having a Walkman. And here's the thing. It was the Walkman, and when you first got the Walkman, you had the most basic headphones. It was literally just the entire cushion. Like you see the cushion for my microphone here, of which I need to dust. It was like the very thin piece, either a thin piece of black plastic or it was a thin piece of silvery metal, and it would go over your ears. But we didn't even have over ears. We had on ears. On ears, and it was just one big massive cushion on your ears entirely. And then it was a long cord that just went into your Walkman, and then you had the tiny little cassette tape, and you put it in there, and you play it, and if you wanted to rewind something, you just press the button down. It had like, it was a toggle too. You press it, and it would stay held down until you hit stop, and then hit play. It wasn't like you could rewind and then it automatically plays. No, you had to rewind, stop it from rewinding, and then play it from there. And you couldn't have too many buttons held down, otherwise it would mess your tape up. I remember it. Who remembers having to use a payphone? Yeah, a payphone. A phone where you have to pay to call someone. You remember those jokes people made about call and collect? That's essentially that. That was our life. Beforehand, before we had cell phones that we could just freely call people, before they had like phone plans and stuff like that, we would go to a payphone. It would sometimes need like a whole $1, or sometimes it'd be 75 cents or a whole $1, or maybe $1.50, depending on your location and the economy. You would call, and then you would just put in the literal payphone, either on a post, or it was on a wall, or it was in some place secure, and you would have to manually put in the number you needed. And then when you were done with the call, you would hang up and it would automatically call. And you better hope that you said everything you needed to say. Because once that receiver hung up, it wasn't like, oh, you can just call that person back automatically. Call back? No. deposit $1.50, please, and then call that person up again. And this was before caller ID, which means that you had no idea who was calling you at any time. Sometimes it would say, like, would you accept a collect call from this person? But that wasn't always the case. A lot of the time, most of the calls you got were from either random people, and you could only hope that it was someone that you knew. Because if it wasn't, it would be like, sorry, wrong number. Mind you, you can still do that now, but now your phone can tell you if it's from an unknown number or not. So you can just straight up look at it and go like, I don't know that person. Swipe and then end the call. Back then, you had no idea what you were getting into when you were getting people on the phone. Who else forgot to feed their Tamagotchi? I never had a Tamagotchi. But I knew friends who had tons of Tamagotchis, and they would be upset when their pets died. Let me see what else we got. Yep, CD burner drives were introduced. The DVD media format was developed during this year. Instant messaging and the buddy list feature became popular. The first MP3 player, the MP Man, is released in the late spring of 1998. A lot of us can say we're older than the very foundation of MP3s. Digital single lens reflex cameras and regular digital cameras become commercially available. They will replace film cameras by the late 90s and early 2000s. A lot of us can say we're older than digital cameras. A lot of us can say we're older than handheld satellite phones are introduced towards the end of the decade. A lot of us can say we are older than the first handheld phones. Because I was born in 92. So I'm older than a lot of these things in the 90s. I'm older than a lot of these innovations. Kitten 2 also wanted to know about newspapers. Okay, Kitten 2, listen up. Before the internet, before any source of news you could get through the internet, people would get the news through people literally printing paper and putting the news they learned about on them. This was the standard way that you would learn about things. It wouldn't pop up on your phone feed. It wouldn't pop up on television. You wouldn't even see it on television. A lot of the news you got back then came from the newspaper. Born on the same year? Yeah, let's go. 92. That's where part of my name comes from. But back then, newspapers were one of the biggest sources of information about the world as a whole. And sometimes you would pay for it, sometimes it would be delivered to you for free. But that's how you learned about the news of the world. News. And it would be big papers, too, big papers. And me, growing up, the only thing I liked about the newspaper was the Sunday comics. That would be the only thing I was be interested in it. Wow. Do they still do comics in newspapers? Cuz I remember so many different comics I loved reading, like Calvin and Hobbes and Garfield and Time to Hydrate and Stretch, drink some water and loosen up. It hasn't even been 45 minutes yet, Nightbot. But I will drink some water before I get myself some tea. Newspapers were basically the paper form of what you would see on the internet to learn about news. Before Twitter, before Yahoo, newspapers are pretty much one of the oldest forms of news media in existence. That went as far back as like what? You know what? Let me look this up. Because I will put this on the Chrome browser on my phone. And then I want to look up like how old are newspapers. Yeah, it goes as far back as the 17th century. 17th century. That's how far back it goes. But getting back to the 90s, we had tons of stuff coming out. What? Voice chat? What was that? Speaking to people on a message board and stuff like that? What was that? No, you went out and you went to go see people. You went to their house. You left your house to go to people's houses. Having to read a map to find your way around way before Google Maps or GPS systems? Yep. Back then, we didn't have GPSs. We needed to know where we were going. Yeah, about maps. Okay, so D-Train and Kitten 1, y'all are on the same track. So, back then, back before the digital age really started to take off, the one way we learned how to get to places is we literally had to memorize where we were going, and if it was a long trip, we needed a map. And that also stems with people making jokes about, like, I don't need a map, I know where I'm going. Honey, do you need a map? I don't need a map, it's all up here, I know where I'm going. That's where that joke comes from. But back then, you would get big maps, like actual maps that would take up the circumference of the passenger seat and the driver's seat for you to find out where you were going. The route, and they had to be updated too. You couldn't just use any old map, because there was no guarantee that the road that you were taking would still be the same road if you were to, take a trip 2 years later down the line. So we would need to use maps and make sure we were going the right way, taking the right exits, and make sure that whoever was in charge of the map was calling out the turns and directions, because you cannot be the person who had the map and you fall asleep and then y'all get lost. Because if you don't know where you are, you can't get your phone to say, like, where am I? And use, find location to find out where you were. You had to memorize where you were going and where you've been in order to backtrack and put yourself on the right path again. Is that why you know every road? Yeah, we had to memorize everything. We had to memorize all the roads we've been on, because this digital age has made it so that people don't need to remember stuff as much. It's become a bit of a crutch. Because if something were to happen to you not being able to use your GPS, you need to know where you going. So that's us. That was us. We had to make sure that we were going in the right directions and everything. Let's see. So let's see what else we got here. Apple Computer in 1998 introduces the iMac all-in-one computer, initiating a trend in computer design towards translucent plastics and multicolor case design, discontinuing many legacy technologies like serial ports and beginning a resurgence in the company's fortunes that continue to this day, including them selling you the same thing with minor changes and four-figured price points. Because a phone that costs $1,000 is crazy to me. Am I going to earn $1,000 back by owning this phone? No? Then I'm not getting it. So, with software, Microsoft Windows operating systems becomes virtually ubiquitous on IBM PC compatibles. Microsoft introduces Windows 3.1, Windows 95, and Windows 98 to the market. Macintosh System 7, the development of web browsers such as Netscape Navigator and Internet Explorer makes surfing the World Wide Web easier and more user-friendly. The Java programming language is developed by Sun Microsystems, later acquired by Oracle. 1991, this was before me. Who remembers this? Get off the phone, get off the computer, I need the phone. Exactly! Back then, and I brought this up many times, anime. During the age where the only way you could get on the internet is to make sure no one else was on the phone, it feels like if your house was wired to just one wire, and if one thing was switched on, then everything else would get powered off. That's exactly how it operated for us and the internet or us using our phones. We couldn't use both at the same time. This is not a joke. We could not use both the phone and the internet at the same time. It was either one or the other. And if you had people who wanted to use one or the other at the same time, one of y'all had to wait. There was no choice. If the parents were on the internet and you wanted to use the phone, tough luck. You just gonna have to wait until they finish. Or if they were on the phone and you wanted to use the internet for something, tough luck. You gonna have to wait until they finish, because you were in for a world of hurt if you mess with that phone while the parents were on the internet talking to their friends and it just cuts off unexpectedly. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm back on again after the phone call ends. No, we didn't have like almost instantaneous connections with our computers back then. You had to wait for that thing to warm up. It was a either or. You couldn't have there was no ¿por qué no los dos? You couldn't have that. Why not both? You couldn't have that. You either had one or the other. And if it was a busy household that needed the internet all the time, you had to do something else. You had to play with your toys, go in another room, go outside, do something, but you couldn't mess with that. I remember those days too. Let me see. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Macromedia Shockwave Player. Winamp. QuickTime. Who remembers QuickTime? QuickTime as a media player back then. I'm just looking at all the stuff that we got. Where's the technology? Typical early 1990s personal computer, because back then we didn't have computer towers. We didn't have computer towers that were rectangular and stood up. No, we had computer towers that were flat and basically the size of a VCR, and it never stood up. It never stood up. It was just flat the entire time, because that's exactly how every single one of those computers were built. We didn't get computer towers standing upright until much later on. Much later on. The Nokia phone. Nokias. Oh my goodness, Nokias. The indestructible Nokia phones. Man, let me see. Mobile phones gained massive popularity worldwide during the decade. Portable CD players. Pagers. Whose parent had a pager growing up? I just like to know whose parent had a pager growing up. Because I know my dad had pagers. Multiple. One that stuck out to me was a see-through blue pager. It was a see-through blue pager. I didn't know how it worked. I just thought it was cool because he always used to use it all the time. It might still be in storage right now, but pagers. My goodness, I forgot about that. Nokia was your first ever phone. Dropped our first one. I was surprised it still worked. First for the Marines, then his work. Let me see here. Yeah, I remember the Y2K fear, fear mongering that was going on during that time, because everyone thought that the world was going to end and all technology was going to go out. Yeah, Amazon, eBay, AOL. Who remembers AOL? Instant messaging buttonless. Email becomes popular. As a result, Microsoft acquires the popular Hotmail web mail service. Emails We had emails back then. And before that, we had to send letters. Let me see if I can find 1990s in gaming. Who remembers going to the store and not paying with a card? Yeah, you went to a store, you didn't have like a debit card back then. You had to pay with money because technology didn't increase to the point where there was trust in, having money, cash or check. That was it. It wasn't even cash or check, it was cash or charge. Who remembers cash or charge? Charge cards. It wasn't even called credit cards, it was called charge cards. Charge cards. So now I want to move over to another spot. We had shows that came out. Matter of fact, I think I need to go back to that previous page I had because we had 1990s. We had 1990s. 1990s gave us shows like Friends, Frasier, The Fresh Prince, Looney Tunes, Tiny Toon Adventures. We had all sorts of different shows for ourselves back then. Hold on. I'm trying to find it. I gotta pull the page back up again because I exited out of it. That's on me. Sorry about that. Television. Where's a little bar where I can just scroll down if I need to see it? Uh, mm, Economics, technology. Aha! Big comfy couch. Oh, what is it? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to clown around with Luna and Molly? What is something? Our Dolly on the big comfy couch. There's so much for you to do. Oh, I remember it. And who remembers the segments of the big comfy couch when they were talking about the where it had like the dust bunnies that were underneath her couch? Who remembers Major McBedhead? Who remembers Auntie Macassar? Who remembers Granny? What is it? Her name is Granny something. I remember. And at the end of the show, she would oh, what was her name? What was her name? I was trying to remember her name. She's the main person. Her name is going to come back to me, but she will also do stretches. Teach kids about stretches. Yeah, we had the big comfy couch. Okay, so I got it right here. So, in this generation, in the 90s, we had the fourth and fifth generations of video game consoles like PlayStation, Sega Genesis, and Saturn, Super Nintendo, and Nintendo 64. They gave us Sonic the Hedgehog, Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, Donkey Kong Country, GoldenEye 007, Final Fantasy 7, which is going to be a game I play this year, I promise you. I am playing Final Fantasy 7, the original, for you guys this year, because I haven't. Lunette the Clown! That's her name. Thank you, anime. Final Fantasy VII, Gran Turismo, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil, Half-Life, and Doom. Then we got popular TV shows such as The Simpsons, Tiny Toon Adventures, Doug, Rugrats, The Ren and Stimpy Show, Darkwing Duck, Sailor Moon, Batman the Animated Series. Where is it? Batman, the animated series. See, this went on sale on Amazon one year, and I made sure that I grabbed it. The entire complete series on Blu-ray! And you can tell that this is old this is old as a full box set because it says I have a redeem code for the digital for this, but, and mind you, I haven't even opened this up yet. And it says that redeem code by the 31st of December in 2019. I don't care. I like having physical media. But yeah, there's so much more stuff. I'm not done because they put it all together. Batman the Animated Series, Beavis and Butthead, Animaniacs. Let's see, Rocko's Modern Life. We got that. We got Gargoyles. I played that on my trumpet for a short one day. Pinky and the Brain. The Pinky and the Brain. We have Dexter's Lab. It's like doo 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 doo. In Dexter's laboratory, he's the smartest boy you've ever seen. But Diddy blows his experiments to smithereens. That is doom and gloom while things go boom in Dexter's lab. Like, I love that show. Let's see, and Mandark with his like, oh my goodness. Let me see. Hey Arnold. I love the Hey Arnold theme song so much. Johnny Bravo. 1, 2, 3, bam, 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 bam. Do the monkey with me. Do the monkey with me. Come on. I love Johnny Bravo as well. South Park and the Powerpuff Girls. Bum, 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 do, 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 do. Down, 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 down. Do, 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 do. Oh, there was, y'all don't understand. These shows were peak. Every single cartoon that came on in the 90s was peak. Can you imagine if Johnny Bravo aired today? Oh no. People would have a problem with it. People would definitely have a problem with it if Johnny Bravo was aired today. But let it be a woman though, and it's seen as comedic. It's seen as funny. Weird how that standard applies, huh? So, those are the cartoons that we got. TV shows we got were Seinfeld, Frasier, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Now this is a story all about how my life got turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I can be the prince of the town called Bel-Air. I kind of flubbed that just a little bit. We got Friends. See, no one told me life was gonna be this way. You gotta clap. You gotta clap real hard for that one. Twin Peaks, The X-Files. Am I the only one that just remembers the first couple of notes of The X-Files and never listened to the entire song? Am I the only one who just remembers the first notes? Like, who loves orange soda? Okay, we got a Keenan and Kel fan up in here. Here it goes. Boom, 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 meaning. Doom, 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 meaning. Boom, 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 meaning. Doom, 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 meaning. Everybody right now, go run and tell your homeboys, your homegirls, it's time for Keenan and Kel. They keep you laughing in the afternoon, so don't touch that down, don't leave the room. See, they're always into something fun and you don't want to miss it. It's Keenan and Kel like to the good waitiness. Keenan and Kel, or should I say Kel and Keenan, and you gotta watch Keenan, cause Keenan be seen with a plan or a plot to make it to the top, but they caught up in the middle cause they always getting caught. This ain't the Hardy Boys or the Nancy Drew mystery. It's just Keenan and Kel in your vicinity like Siegfried and Roy or Abbott and Costello, Magic and Kareem, team or Penn and Teller, somebody in trouble. Oh, here we go. Oh, Nick. Ah, there was just so many peak shows. So many peak shows. Let's see what else we got. We had the ER. I remember that show. One thing I remember from that show was some very, very jerk-like doctor was being mean, and then later on in an episode, he stood too close to a helicopter propeller, and his entire arm just got ripped off. And I think that's the first time I've ever saw an arm ripped off in a television show. From ER. Family Matters, man, I love me some Steve Urkel. It's a rare condition in this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. Love and tradition of the grand design, some people say, is even harder to find. Well, there must be some magic clue inside these gentle walls. But all I see is a tower of green, real love bursting out of every scene. As days go by, they don't make shows like that anymore. Shows that were just the epitome of showing you real values in a family, how you should behave in public, how parents should treat their children, how children should treat their parents, how children should treat others. They don't make shows with values like that. Now we just got tons of shows with nothing but brain rot, loud sounds, jump cuts, because they apparently think that people nowadays have short attention spans. We don't get shows like Family Matters. We don't get shows like The Fresh Prince. We don't get shows like The Golden Girls. We don't get shows like The Carol Burnett Show. We don't get shows that taught us how men should treat ladies, how ladies should treat men, because they're not exempt either. We don't get shows like that anymore. The 90s was peak in every single way. Let me see. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Beverly Hills. 90210. That's a show I've never watched, but I always found it funny that it was a TV show where it was just literally numbers. It was just literally numbers. No, we also don't get parents like ours. Yeah, okay, so let me just give you a little bit of synopsis. I come from a military/Christian family. We still uphold those values. My dad, we all do. Betty White, oh, she's a legend. Absolute legend. Raised in a military Christian household. The values that I was raised with, I still uphold. Now, mind you, I've gotten older, so I have a broader understanding of things. But the upbringing that I had from the 90s growing up stuck with me well into the 2000s and became even stronger in the 2010s. And basically have reached their crescendo of what I can achieve from those teachings in terms of how I conduct myself now. The person you see before you is because of the type of upbringing I had in the 90s. Because at a young age, I got whoopings. When I got into a teenager age, I got whoopings. And it didn't take me long to realize that whoopings hurt. I don't like whoopings. I can't stand pain, because it hurts me. So I learned from earlier on that, I probably would get along farther in life with a lot more peace if I don't do things that could, get me into trouble. And mind you, I did get into a lot of trouble when I was much younger, but it caught on very quickly for me that, this is actually not good for not only myself, but also for my parents. Because I had the instilled thought of, I don't want to disappoint my parents. I don't like having those talks with them where they're telling me that they can't believe I did this, they can't believe I did that. Because it had a heavy feeling in the pit of my heart. So since then, I've been on my best behavior. I am 33, and I'm still on my best behavior because when I leave this house, I'm not only representing myself, but I'm also representing the household that I was raised in. And that's how I've operated my entire life. Especially here on YouTube as well, where people can behave however they want to. But the reason why I don't behave however I want to is because I have a name I have a reputation to uphold. I have a my name's reputation to uphold, my family name's reputation to uphold, and the fact that I know that people who know me and know my parents also watch what I do. So I conduct myself in a manner that is respectful of how I was raised from the 90s. We don't get parents like that nowadays. Nowadays, a lot of parents just let their phone or devices basically govern their children. And mind you, I know there are some instances where it can be helpful, but it should not be the main thing. You should not be going to TikTok to find out how you should be treating your kids. TikTok, to me, is literally the lazy person's way of learning things for themselves. I'm sorry. It's just that that's one of the reasons why I'm not on TikTok. I don't go to TikTok to get reviews for anything. I don't go to TikTok to learn how to do stuff. I either learn it myself, look it up, and learn it for myself, or maybe they'll have a YouTube tutorial. But if it's something that's outside of my expertise, I'm not going to say, like, hey, I saw it on YouTube. So that means I'm very capable of doing it myself. Unless it's something that is outside of my scope, unless it's something that's inside of my scope of capabilities, I don't mess with it. I'll get a professional. Like, I'm not going to pretend to know I know everything about a car because I don't. I know enough to get by. I know how to change a tire. I know how to change a spark plug. I know how to charge up a battery if I need to. I know how to connect this. I know how to connect that if I have a problem. And if I have a problem of which I don't know of when it comes to a car, I call my dad because my dad has been working on cars since before I was even born. My dad went into the military, learned to work on even military vehicles, and was a incredibly proficient mechanic even then. And even now, he still continues to work on cars. So if I need to know something about a car, I'm gonna ask him because he's gonna know everything about it. And if he don't know, he learns, and then he tells me if I need to know. But getting raised in the 90s, there was a set of values that we just don't have with this current generation. Because now we got more kids who look at what's happening on the internet and thinking like, oh, it's fine to do it because I see it on the internet. And these weird random memes that are coming out, some of which I'm not going to say because I don't want to say it on my channel because I don't want that stuck in history, because some of the memes that kids have coming up with, and it's not because it's a derogatory, but it's or profane or anything, it's just dumb. And there's only so much stupidity I will let out of my mouth and be immortalized on this channel. There's only so much. So all these newer memes that these kids are getting into nowadays is just plain stupid. And the thing that gets me is how the internet acknowledges these different memes and will put them in the dictionary, but they have no meaning whatsoever. So I'll say just this one. The fact that the phrase skibbity is seen as a word worthy of being in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary is completely beyond me. Because what I was raised on, words had to have meaning, they had to have a purpose, and they had to have actual utility in society. You're not going to catch a business person saying the word skibbity at all. The moment a person says that, no one's going to take them seriously. Hey, would you like to be a part of this $30 million deal? Awesome. Great. Thank you. This deal is going to be so skibbity. Huh? What? What did you say? I said this deal is going to be skibbity. What does that mean? Oh, it's just a form of expression. Oh, okay. We may need to reconsider on this deal. Kids nowadays aren't even being raised by their own parents, but by technology and social media influencers. Yeah. That's a concern. You heard Ananis groan from the other room? He heard me, didn't he? Ananis, I need you to... I know you can hear me. I know you can hear me. Hear me out. These words have absolutely no societal value. He's probably saying he's right, right? I'll be right back. My family just called me. We're going to continue with the 90s stuff, though, because we still got some more stuff to go over. I'll be right back. I'm back. Family just wanted to show me something funny. But yeah, just back in the 90s, you when you were growing up, you needed to know what you were saying. Kids knew the words that they were saying, and if they said bad words, they got reprimanded. Kid reprimandation, uh reprimanding kids in the 90s was some families. I refuse to accept or recognize these foolish words. And honest, you and me both. I don't acknowledge them. I don't say them. I only said that one just to show you just how dumb it is. It is utter nonsense. It has no value in society. Only children will say it. And those children will grow up and realize how dumb it was to say and regret being a part of the group that helped it flourish. See, that's the thing. Kids look at these words and think like, "Oh, this is funny. Oh, this is silly. Ha 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 ha." And then when they get older and they start realizing that people cannot take them seriously when they incorporate these phrases into their sentences as if it has actual meaning, then they're going to be wondering, "Huh, this is dumb. Even children don't need to say it." No, they don't. That's the reason why many people have been taken on the job of just making sure that any uses of these words, yeah, we'll ruin it. Let's ruin these words so people can stop saying it. Let's make it uncool. Let's make it unfun. Let's make it just as dreary as possible so that we can stamp out this plague. There will never be a day where I say any of these words with actual fervor. There will never be a day when I say any of these words with any sort of genuine enthusiasms, like I'm actually happy to say these words. I'm not. I was raised in an age where the words you say needed to actually mean something, and the words you're saying need to be coherent. They need to make sense. They need to make sense. And you can't just pop off and say whatever and expect people to understand it. See, some phrases I can understand, like knock dust from you. I'm gonna knock some dust from you. That's a classic term. That's a classic term. Or catch these hands. Fighting term. Catch the smoke. Run the pockets. These are things that are fight affiliated, but it's not dumb sounding. Catch this fade. That's another one. But people at least know. Return to your game of chess. Peace and health be with. Of course, peace and health be with you as well, Inanis. Enjoy your game of. I was about to say, enjoy your game of guess. I was about to say, enjoy your game of guess. Enjoy your game of chess. But that's just it's just fundamentally different how children are being raised nowadays compared to many of us who were raised in the 90s. I was raised on, if you don't stop acting up, you're going to get a whooping when you get home. No public whoopings, but it was a whooping at the house. And the drive to the house was one of the most ominous feelings ever. One saying that needs to die right now is, "Do you feel me?" When someone says that to me, I'll be like, "Huh? What? What?" Then that person tells me, "Do you know what I mean?" I'm just like, "Just say that." Not, "Do you feel me?" See, that phrase has actually been around for a while. People actually still kind of use that one. Sure, it can be a bit iffy in terms of like fully understanding the context, but it's not as bad as some of these phrases that these children are using and these kids are using nowadays. The phrases that are quintessentially brain rotted. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. That was a scary phrase. 90s kids know this instance. 90 kids know, and specifically mothers who come from the 90s also know this as well. And children of 90s kids know, and children of 90s mothers know this instance. The stare. It's the stare. The motherly stare. See, some mothers don't have this stare anymore. It's lost its power amongst some of the newer generations of mothers. But mothers from the 90s, well, actually, and well, it was really prominent in the 90s because it's always been there. But it's lost some of its effect and power due to how lax some parents have become. It was the death stare. If you were acting up in a store and your mother gave you that stare without saying a single word, you were dead. When you got home, them hind pots got toe up because she didn't say anything in the store. But you knew that you were in for a bad time with a belt or a ruler, or even a wooden spoon if she couldn't get either. Because you acted up, you got the death stare. And when you got in the car, she may have said one or two things to you, but you didn't get a whole conversation. And back then, you didn't plead. You didn't plead. You just knew you were in trouble. You were a kid. You had no bargaining chip. You had absolutely no way of getting out of this situation. You just knew that the moment you got the look, that was automatic strike 3. Just got to glance at your kids, just one look, and they shush and snap to attention. That's what I had as well. That's what I had as well. Growing up, if I did something that I wasn't supposed to and I got that look, I knew I was in trouble. Okay, it yeah, looks like it's still having issues. Okay. Okay, we're back. I think we're back. I think we're back. Yeah, I think we're back. My other playback was acting kind of finicky just a little bit. I think we're good now. Back to the topic of toys. Was anybody else afraid of their Furby? I never had a Furby. We never had Furbies. We never had Furbies because my family didn't trust them. Let me get rid of some of this extra stuff that's on my feed. Okay, we're good. We're good now. Yeah, we had like a little bit of a network thing and then it fluctuated, but we're back now. But yeah, 90s toys. Now I got to look that up. Ooh, while we're on the topic of toys, Furbies was one of the big things that came out that year as well. Like they were a big thing. Hold on, let me see. Pop culture. Do we have 90s? I need to look this up too. Oh, back real quick, just more on TV. We had Home Improvement. We had In Living Color, which was a wonderful show, by the way. Let me show you something. Or Calhoun Tubbs. Let's see. We had Mr. Bean, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Love that show. Baywatch, Cops, Prime Suspect, and Law and Order. Let me see here. 1990s videotapes were used for personal home video recordings and recording television airings. VHS tapes could be put in devices such as VCRs, which were popular in the decade. VHS. We had Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, released in the late 90s, which essentially launched the global phenomenon known as Pokemon itself. 1990 saw the use of Google in its infancy, Jump Station, Ask.com, and Alta Vista. I need to look up movies. Love Home Improvement. I love what is his name? Wilson. Howdy ho, neighbor. But his face was, the Magic School Bus. Yes, the Magic School Bus. Let me see. Animated shows. Tamagotchi. Yeah, Tamagotchi and Furby were very popular, but we never had it. Me and my sisters, we never had it. Let me see. I see literature, but I don't see toys. I need to look it up. So, we had Super Mario World. We had Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Mario Lane. Super Mario Lane. Super Mario Land, Donkey Kong Country, Gran Turismo, the Neo Geo, the SNES, the Game Boy, the Atari Jaguar, the Nintendo 64, the PlayStation, and games like Tomb Raider coming out in 1996. I am so much older than so many of these. So, now I'm going to look up 90s toys, because that's a conversation. Let's see. Tamagotchi. Beanie Babies. Who remembers Beanie Babies back in the day? Miss Frizzle was the ultimate teacher? Yes, she was. She was the ultimate teacher. And you learned so much from the Magic School Bus. Barney and Teletubbies? Yeah. So we had Tamagotchi. We had Beanie Babies. We had Furbies. We had Super Soakers. Now, I need to be completely honest with all of you. I loved having the biggest Super Soaker you could ever have. Just like the ones with the big old giant tank. And it was... Whatever happened to Super Soaker Wars outside? Remember that? You would go outside with your friends. It would be a hot summer day. And you was all like, we're going to war. We're gonna have a Super Soaker war. So you would get your biggest Super Soaker, go to your faucet that was outside your house, and just stand under it and just have it fill up the entire tank full of water. This is before we got super soakers that would allow you to fill up, that had magazines you could fill up with water and exchange it for empty ones so you can go back into just super soaking your friends. Pumping the super soaker. Need to be careful how I do that gesture. Pumping the super soaker and then just spraying all your friends down. The class reunion would be super out of pocket though, so they should never reboot the series. They did though. They did give us a newer Magic School Bus, but I feel like it's way more acceptable. I feel like it's way more acceptable compared to like other reboots that try to bring a series back into circulation. Drinking from the garden hose. Hey, dude, Desix, I don't know how to say your name. Please forgive me. I'm never going to be used to people's handles being displayed rather than their actual names. But your profile picture, we literally talked about the Microsoft paperclip earlier on, because that was something that was very prominent in the 90s too. So your profile picture is very on topic right now. Drinking from the garden hose. I never drunk from the garden hose. I got drunk water from the tap on the inside. But I never drank from the water from the garden hose. Actually, you know what? I think I did. Growing up, I think I did. But getting the super soaker and just filling it up with water and just running around and spraying your friends down. And you would have to wait for your shirt to be like not dripping at all before you came back in the house, because you were not dripping water going from outside to inside at all. Especially if you ran in mud. No, those shoes would get left outside. They would get left out. They would get left outside. Let's see. Polly Pocket. That was another one. Racing on bikes was awesome. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. This was before the craze of skateboards was like really, really prominent. No, we had riding on bikes, going through the neighborhood. That was your primary source of water. You was kicked out of the house in summer so mom could cook and clean. Yeah, so that the parents could have some peace in the summer so that you wouldn't be around them all the time. Go outside. But it's hot outside. Drink from the hose, but I need you outside. You ain't got to go to your friend's house, but you need to get up out this house. You ain't gonna sit inside of this house not doing nothing. Go outside. Go outside. Remember when you would go outside and you would do stuff? You weren't worried about catching anything. You weren't worried about hurting yourself. You did it just because in the 90s. You would climb trees because it seemed like fun. You would play around with your friends in the playground, even on hot days when the metal of the slides in the playgrounds were burning hot. Because as a kid, you don't fully comprehend just how hot something that is metal can get during the summer. And you find out the hard way that maybe going down this metal chrome shiny slide in the middle of 90-degree weather in shorts probably was not the best idea, because as soon as bare skin touched the slide, you were like, and then you try to put your hands on the side, but oh, alas, those parts are metal too, so you burn your hands, and then you try to get up and run down the slide in order to get off of it. I know from experience. Those were crazy times. And just because it was plastic didn't mean you didn't get burned either, because plastic can hold in heat too. But the metal slides were literal irons. Literal irons. Playing out in the snow, it used to be so relaxing. Yes, because the clothing you wore as a kid was double insulated. Double insulated. So you could be outside for hours. I don't know what happened to the clothes. Maybe it's the clothes that I'm wearing. But clothes now, it feels like the cold eats through them too quickly. Clothes, I was trying to say kids and clothes at the same time. Clothes as a kid, you were so bundled up that when you got out of it, you might as well have had steam coming off of you because you were just that packed into clothes in order to be as warm as possible. On occasion, I'd even wear double socks just to make sure I had some extra heat. But going out in the snow, literally, as a kid, was literally one of the best experiences ever. Especially if you had friends. Snowball fights? Genuine snowball fights as a kid? Then don't watch no movie like Snow Day. Don't watch Snow Day And then a snow day actually happens, and then the next thing you know, you getting your friends together and you're trying to have a snowball fight like snow day. And being grateful you didn't have a snowplow man that went through your neighborhood. So many memories. My goodness. So going back to toys, we had Tamagotchi. We had, who remembers Stretch Armstrong? I never had a Stretch Armstrong, but I remember Stretch Armstrong. The quality was better then. Yeah, the snow quality was way better then. Or at least I remember it as relaxing. The gloves used to change colors too, from blue to red. Oh, you had some fancy gloves then. You had some fancy gloves. Oh, cool. The poll closed up. Okay, cool. Because I put a poll up in the Discord about what people would like to see more of in 2026, and it's an even split. It is a pretty even split amongst game streams and video playthroughs, reaction videos and streams viewer suggested. Pretty much no votes for voiceovers, even though I'm still gonna do those, and chill streams with discussions and topics like today's stream. So, pretty good poll that I put up. Nice. Soccer boppers! Soccer boppers! More fun than a pillow fight. Blow blow 'em up, put your hands inside, get ready to have the time of your life. Soccer boppers! We never, as kids, we never got soccer boppers. And growing up, I felt like it would be so good if I could have some soccer boppers, because that way me and my sisters, we can fight, but if we wouldn't get into trouble because it's just soccer boppers. It's meant to be safe. So many memories. Hold on, let me bring this page back up. So we have Furbies. We have Super Soakers. We had Polly Pockets. We had Power Ranger action figures. Who remembers the Power Ranger action figures that didn't exactly have the best articulation, but they were all chromed out and they looked super shiny? Who remembers those? We had the Game Boys, because the Game Boy and the Game Boy Colors came out in the same decade. We had Bop It, Pull It, Twist It, Bop It. And like, I remember playing Bop It as well. Pogs. I don't remember Pogs. I think I heard of it, but I never interacted with it. Okay, so here's one. Here's one. It was in fact not safe. No, because an older brother with better arm strength than his sisters would lead to very unfun times. So I am so glad I never got into soccer boppers, because that would encourage you to, like, okay, so you survived that, let me hit harder. And all it takes is just for too much strength to be put behind a punch, and then I'm getting a whooping because I knocked my sisters into stuff and stuff got broken. So I'm glad I never got into it. Remember making bows and arrows, sticks, and rubber bands? Me and my sister would go crazy with those. Yeah, I remember those too. But here's a toy from in the 90s that my sisters were super into. American Girl dolls. I know, because my sisters had a bunch of American Girl dolls. And I remember they had a bunch of them because when they got an American Girl doll, they were also giving a magazine showing even more American Girl dolls, with all sorts of accessories and how expensive these dolls were back then. Never had one? Oh, it was a very popular doll series from back in the day, because they had like all tons of different themes. And mind you, my sisters love Barbies, but my sisters like Barbies, but the American Dolls was, really personal for them because they enjoyed all the different designs and everything. Falcon Zord with all the pieces. Grandmother used to buy me all the giant robots from the store. Such treasured times. Never had them. Gotcha. Actually, you know what? I can show you this. I can show you the image of what the American Doll looks like. Hold on. Let me make sure. Hold on. Momentarily turning the light off. It looks like this. Is my screen too bright? What in the world? Maybe I need to reduce it. Does this work? Yeah, there we go. I gotta clean my screen. I've been using it a whole lot. Yeah, it looks like this. American Girl dolls. It looks like that. My sisters used to have quite a few of them. But for me growing up, I had friends who had the entire set for Power Rangers. And they would show me essentially the entire Zord, like the Falcon Zord, and then how it would all combine together. And this is before I got into Transformers. I love Transformers. But this is before I got into Transformers, and seeing the Zords come together, and seeing the Falcon Zord on the back, and seeing everything combined together, and you can create a Megazord. It was just so cool to me. Yo! Anime Juke, it's good to see you. Those dolls were scary. Never had a doll or Barbie. You had knives and books. That's because your father wanted to make sure that his daughter was prepared for any eventuality. I don't know a single girl who had a Barbie who was military ready or Marine ready. Don't know of a single one. We're going down memory lane of like the different toys and different stuff we had in the 90s compared to now. We had Tickle Me Elmo. Never had that, but I know people who did. Toy Story toys. Like Mr. Potato Head. Looking forward to Code Vein 2 later this month. It's going to be so good. Look, I am looking forward to this. Hold on, let me do this. On the channel. Designs. Designs, please forgive me for not recognizing your name. The stupid handle thing. I couldn't even recognize your name in that one moment. Please forgive me. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Code Vein 2. Oh, they just announced earlier this morning that on the 23rd of this month, they're dropping a character creator demo, which you can then transfer to the main game. And I don't think you're going to be able to play any parts of the story, but you will be able to create your character and then transfer them over. So I will be doing a video of me creating my person that I'm going to bring over to Code Vein. I can't wait to play it. That's the next big game I'm going to play for you. That is the next big series I'm going to create for you guys. That's the first one for this year, Code Vein. And I know Neo 3 comes out like several days after the fact, but too many Souls-like within one setting will make me suffer burnout. And I figured I would have more fun with Code Vein than I would with Neo 3. So Code Vein 2 is going to be the game that we play at this month. So yeah. But yeah, there's a character creator that's going to be dropping on the 23rd. And seeing as how the character creator looks even more robust than Code Vein 1's, yeah, I'm going to spend as much time as possible to perfect how my person looks. So I cannot wait. Yes, I remember having a Woody and Buzz Lightyear toys. I would always leave the room to see if they would come to life like in the movie. I had a Woody toy, but I think I got the Woody toy from like a McDonald's Happy Meal. Because it was like a mini Woody. It was like a stuffed Woody with a removable hat. He didn't have the string, so he didn't have a voice, but it was something you would get with a McDonald's meal. Let's see, what else we got? No, is that the list? No, there's more toys we got in the 90s. Don't give me that. Don't give me that like we didn't get anything else. Category, thank you, Wikipedia. Let's see, Batman action figures, Batman Total Justice, Bop It. Creepy crawlers. We had that too. Easy bake ovens. The 8-bit technology let you know you were in it or not. Who remembers 90s Happy Meal toys? Say that. Say it. Say it. Who remembers? Glad you won't spend the first 3 early days of early access customizing a character, just the first day. So, question. I think one of my earliest Happy Meal toys was the Toy Story Woody toy I told you about, but also the toys you can get to make an Inspector Gadget. Who remembers the Inspector Gadget toys to get piece by piece and you can create your own full-on Inspector Gadget because the Inspector Gadget movie was out during the 90s? They don't. Oh my goodness. And mind you, they still do Happy Meal toys. They still do them. My sister has been making a collection of Happy Meals that she gets for herself because she likes to collect them. Saturday morning cartoons. Thank God it's Friday. VR Troopers. Who remembers Zoog Disney? I'm digging real deep in Disney's history here. Now, sure, we have One Saturday Morning, because I love One Saturday Morning. Ah, there it is. There you are. There you are, anime. There you are, Juke, with the One Saturday Morning, with Recess and the Pepper Ann. What you know about Pepper Ann? What you know? Let's go. Something about the something, dude. You gotta ask for the toy. You gotta ask here for the toy. You gotta ask for the toy with your Happy Meal. Bionicle used to be fun. You get the colors and build them all up. I think mine's was Toa. It was something Toa. It was the green Bionicle that. Ooh, designs. Do you remember getting the Bionicles that you could build and they had like the big old tube with all the pieces inside. You build it, but then you could take the pieces of the tube and it had the ends and you can create this little ball and you could put the Bionicle inside of it. Like you could put the Bionicle inside of it and it would clasp together. I had the green one. The one that had like blades on his hands, but also double as like glider wings. Who remembers not only getting that, but also getting the Bionicle and it had like the little mini CD-ROM and it would give you like a little video showing you the Bionicle in their movements. And they have like this little animation of this specific Bionicle. I gotta remember what the green one was called, but it was the one that you could put the blade in his hands, but you could also put it on his back because that's how he could fly. And it was basically this Bionicle that could fall through the air and then fly inside of this wind tunnel. And then he would put his knives up through the air and then loop up and fall on top of a tunnel after putting them on his back, like really, really cool. Like, I remember when Burger King gave out those cool silver Dragon Ball Z figures. When I get K2 Happy Meal, I gotta ask for the toy. But that's the happy part of the Happy Meal. Why do you? The whole happy part of a Happy Meal is the toy inside. Why call it a Happy Meal if you have to ask for the toy? That's supposed to be automatic. It's literally half of the meal. It's the happy in the meal. Cause I don't know no kids who's all like, oh boy, I can't wait to get myself some 5 chicken nuggets. Oh boy, I can't wait to get myself a small hamburger. Oh boy, I can't wait to get myself this packet of apple slices. No, the happy part of the meal wasn't the food, it was the toy. The food was the meal part. What you mean you gotta ask for it? That is ridiculous. Yo-yos were the it thing. We all knew how to walk the dog. What was the year when we got the yo-yos that were automatic, that were spring-loaded and would come back into your hands? I'm trying to remember what year we got automatic yo-yos that were they it was like these circular yo-yos. It was around 1999 to 2001. Remember the boxing robots, Hungry Hippos, Monopoly, Rampage 64, and Genesis Pitfall and Sonic the Hedgehog? Yes, I do! See, in the 90s, we had what was described as peak stuff. I don't remember anything being bad. Yo-yo ball. Yeah, that was the specific name of it. I used to have a yo-yo ball, but then I started to manhandle it too much and I started to break the plastic that kept the thing inside. And I was also bad about like trying to tie a knot into it as well. So I would tie knots too tight for me to untie, and then my yo-yo ball would just get stuck that way. So that was just something toy-wise. I remember having yo-yos as well, but sometimes I would get them tangled and I wouldn't be able to have the same level of skill that many professionals of yo-yos would have later on in life. But I used to mess with some yo-yos in my younger days. Oh, here's another one, and I don't know if this counts as 1999, but was that something was that something from the 90s or was that something from the 2000s? I'm trying to remember if it was from the 2000s. Because I remember having a sticky hand and I would mess with it way too much. I was at the age when I would use a sticky hand. At that time, when sticky hands were very popular, I didn't have the wherewithal to think of, oh, if this thing that is sticky touches something that's carpet, it's going to catch hands. It's gonna catch all this lint and hair that you can't get off of it if you keep smacking it to things that are fuzzy and furry and whatnot. So I can't remember what year that came out. The first Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Ooh, endless hours of playing that game. Look, Vector Man. Who was Vector Man? Maybe I remember that. Hold on. Vector Man. Wow, okay, that was apparently a game. I never played Vector Man. Interesting. Remember drinking from the water hose in the 90s? These kids don't even touch grass? No, because everything they need is directly on their phone or their tablet or on whatever streaming service is inside of the house. These kids nowadays don't some and mind you, there are some, like there's some in my neighborhood that have no problem going outside, playing hockey, playing baseball, getting on scooters and riding all over the place, getting on their bikes and having fun. I'm happy to see that because at least those values of growing up with, staying active in mind is still very prevalent. So I'm happy to see it. But 90s was just fundamentally what many of us, even as adults, seen as like a peak era of entertainment, of fun, of just memories that to this day I still have in my head. I'm just like, 90s was absolutely perfect for kids. It was the perfect year. You was a yo-yo champ back in high school? Nice, Juke. You take your kids outside, they know what grass is. Exactly. Going outside and being active, it is everything. And this is probably something that I need to do better for myself, like just going on walks because I don't really go on walks, but I need to do that often. So, take the boys outside and walk with them and do that often for myself because that's something I'm going to be doing this year as well. Getting way more active because I spend a lot of time here. Like here, I spend a lot of time here. I get up and I move, but I spend a lot of time here. So, being active is very important. And it's a value that not many kids nowadays are taking into heart. Go fishing? I haven't gone fishing in over 20 years. And that was when I went fishing with my great aunt and my great grandmother. And they both taught me how to fish. And we caught multiple fishes. I remember it was such a wonder. Enjoy that melanin. Yes, yes, I will. I will. When I was a kid, I was playing with one of those sticky hands. I ended up slapping a woman. She got super mad. I hope she's doing well. It was still an accident. All the greatest TV shows were on in the 90s. Yes, it was. Yes, they were. Father-in-law said he remembers when you only spoke to family on certain occasions because communication wasn't always reliable. Exactly. The only time when you spoke to family was, did someone pass away? Is there an emergency? Are you coming over for the holidays? But other than that, you didn't talk to your family members, especially your relatives outside of your house all the time. Now, mind you, it's kind of like that because people don't feel like staying in touch, and less so a communication issue. Nowadays, I feel like a lot of people don't stay in contact with their family members because they just don't want to interact with them at all. Not that they don't have the means to do so, but just because they don't want to be bothered, rather than it being a communication issue or communication reliability concern. So, but that's a conversation for another time. Who's having the candy lady at the end of their neighborhood? Who remembers whenever the ice cream truck came through your neighborhood, and it would come through almost every week? You were out there trying to get some ice cream. You know, the Mickey Mouse ice cream pops that had the smudge face and it looked messed up, but you still got it because it tastes good, or the Sonic the Hedgehog ice cream pops, or the Flintstone pops. Sure, you can get the ice pops that were the red, white, and blue flavor, but you always got the ones that were themed off of some of your favorite characters from TV shows or movies because they tasted good. And if it was a hot day, you had to eat it quick, otherwise that sucker would just melt directly on your hand, and then you were just licking it off of your hand, but you still enjoyed it because it was fun, because you had ice cream, and you were sitting there with your friends, and it was hot out. It was just great. Dragon Ball Z got a lot of us into anime in the 1990s, but I found Sailor Moon first. I'm a Juniper stan, and then Mercury, gotta love a girl with brains. I think Dragon Ball may have been my first anime. Yeah, Dragon Ball was my first anime growing up, and I've loved it ever since. Spider-Man ice cream with a stick. Yes, the bomb pops, the red, white, and blue bomb pops. Miss the days of seeing kids actually playing outside. The only kids I see playing outside are my neighbors who live behind me. At least they know how to dribble and basketball around. Yeah. Push Pop Sorbet was so good. Push Pops. Like, it had like the little paperish covering. And then you had the cover on top, and you would have to peel that. And then you had the stick underneath, and you would just push it up through the bottom, and then just lick it as you went. Or the ice cream person you had actually made you ice cream cones. Full waffle cone with the chocolate ice cream, and they made the ice cream for you. It wasn't they just gave you a packet of ice cream that you could just eat for yourself. Back then in the 90s, they made it for you on the spot. Who remembers eating the ice cream out of the toilet paper roll? So many memories. My goodness, the 90s were absolutely peak. And while I do miss them, I'm glad I can create some memories now with people who grew up in that era, and we all enjoyed it. Y'all play Foursquare or Curveball, Tetherball cause fights on the playground? Tetherball was my favorite one because you always had that one kid who wanted to demonstrate that he had such a massive right or left arm, and he would just knock the ball around and you have to avoid getting hit by it. Because the thing is, as a kid, and I'm only going to talk just a little bit more because I got food on the way. Some food on the way. Actually, hold on. I need to take care of something that I forgot to do while I was speaking. Give me a second here. But you always had that one kid who wanted to show how hard he could throw a ball. And then, back then, as a kid, you didn't exactly have the best sense of self-preservation in dodging things. So when something was aiming for you, you would sometimes either freeze up and then you just bring your hands up or bring your leg up to protect yourself rather than actually dodge out of the way. This is before Piccolo told people how to dodge Gohan. But as a kid, you would just either like maybe hope that you could duck out of the way, but not fully cognitively dodge. You would either get hit by it and then go cry running through the playground because you got hit because you suck at dodging, or you dodged and then you kept the ball going. That's when the real tetherball battle was happening. Kitten 1 and 2 have one last question? By all means. By all means. And I think this can be the last thing we discuss as well. This question for Kitten from Kitten 1 and 2. We can do that. That'll be perfect. Because I got some things to take care of, and we might have another session of Avatar. Yeah, we might have another. No, 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 because I've been. I'll have to see. If we have another session of Avatar, I'll let you guys know beforehand. But if we don't, it'll be tomorrow. Even though the Epic Mickey game comes out tomorrow on PlayStation Plus, that'll still be something that I play throughout this week once I get done with Avatar, because I have been very busy on that game. But uh yeah, by all means, I'm happy to answer another the one more question. Hmm. You can tell Dragon Ball is my first anime with me being a massive Dragon Ball fan. It's actually a really mature question. What was my favorite thing of the 90s? Uh-oh. Lag? Oh, I saw it. I saw it. It happened in that brief moment. Yeah, this must be a telltale sign that it might be time for me to go ahead and bring this to a close. Okay. It's actually a really mature question. What was my favorite thing of the 90s? Is it still lagging? Is it still lagging or are we good? Or do I need to refresh things? Oh yeah, I had to refresh things. I had to refresh things. It wasn't appearing correctly. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I had to double check. Yeah, I had to double check. Okay, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Makes you think that my screen is freezing because I lock up and I just stare for a little bit before I start moving again. Yeah, we're good now. Okay, okay. My favorite thing about the 90s. I would have to say my favorite thing about the 90s was just how much fun it was in everything you did. You didn't do things because it was popular. You didn't do things because you were worried about what people would say to you online because that concept was not a thing. You didn't do things because it was either safe. You did it because it was the amount of fun you had as a kid growing up in the 90s was literally bar none. And mind you, as an adult, you could still have fun. It's just that for some of us, we can't move like we used to when we were kids. But as a kid, it was just the freedom to do whatever you wanted. And also, you were a kid back then, so you didn't need to worry about adulting. You didn't need to worry about You didn't have to worry about paying bills. You didn't have to worry about being the person that had to provide for your own video games and such. You didn't have to worry about being the person that would have to provide for your own food. Responsibilities as an adult was literally never in your mind because you were tended for. So all you had to worry about was literally having fun and only that. Sure, we grew up and many of us are adults now, some of us with kids. But it was just absolutely fun as a kid doing any and everything. Something is going up with either my graphics card or something. Because there's lag. Yeah, I can see the lag. So I'm glad my audio is coming through, but the video is still having troubles. I don't know why. Yeah, sorry about the lag at the tail end of it, so hopefully you guys were able to hear everything. But I feel like one of the best memories, my favorite thing about the 90s was the lack of responsibility that was expected of you as an adult now. Cuz now you can just because as an adult, you got so many things you got to take care of. Some of us have kids. I'm not one of them because I'm not even married, so I don't have no kids. And ain't nothing going to have that happen before I get married either cuz your boy is being careful. But being careful and also why wait, why am I saying being careful? Why am I saying being careful? That would insinuate no, sorry, wrong phrase. Wrong phrase that could be taken way out of context. Sorry. That ain't happening because I ain't never been with nobody and I'm not married yet. That was such a weird way to phrase that. I am so sorry. But being in the 90s, the greatest thing about it was you didn't have to be an adult back then. You just could enjoy being a kid. So much freedom in being a kid. Thank you, Mister. Of course, of course, of course. I'm happy to give my insight. But being in the 90s was fantastic. And I wish that the values that many of us grew up with back then was still a thing. That's what I wished we had. But all the same, it was a great era for many of our lives, and it actually helped shape how we operate as adults even now. So, overall, I love life in the 90s was fantastic. If you had issues, you got through it because there were way more fun times ahead. And I enjoyed it. I loved the 90s. 2000s were good too. But 90s for me was peak years, even though it was my earliest of years. I want to say sometime during the 2010s. I want to say sometime during the 2010s. It was also peak as well, but 90s was peak for many of us growing up. And I'm grateful to have lived through it. And I'm grateful that I remember so much too, because they were just wonderful years. I'll probably have some of those years come back to me as soon as I go into my storage unit that my family has and find some old stuff that we had. The less subscriptions, the cost of living was lower too. Yeah, yeah. The cost of living was low enough where you could get anything as a kid and nothing was too expensive. I remember that. I miss those days. But that can be a conversation for another time. But Kitty, need to get going. Thanks, Q. Y'all take care and see you in chat. Thank you, Kitty, for stopping by. Thank you for basically putting because had it not been for Kitty and her kids, we would not be having this discussion right now. It's because of her and her kids that they brought this idea to me. So I'm grateful that I was able to do that. But ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a good time to stop before we hit 2 hours of this discussion. I just wanted to talk to you guys about life in the 90s and how it was pretty much peak life. And many of the things that we enjoy now is because of how good the 90s was. We have internet because of the 90s. We have PlayStation and Nintendo and the Nintendo Switch 2 and the PS5 and great games that we have now because of the 90s. We have great television shows and legacies of those television shows because of the 90s. So I am incredibly appreciative of the 90s as a whole. But this was a wonderful discussion to have. I look forward to having more discussions like this with all of you guys on different topics because we're going to be doing more of these throughout this year as well. As the poll states, people want more of this. And I'm looking forward to having more moments with this for you guys during this entire year. Look forward to some more stuff both this week and next week and the week after that because it's going to be a busy, I won't say too busy January, but it's going to be fairly fun because I got a lot of things that I want to bring to you guys and have fun with, and I'm looking forward to it. So to Designs, Kitty, not CDs, but Hybrid, D-Train, Anime Juke, everyone who tuned in here today, I want to say, Anime Gamer as well. To everyone, I just want to say, this has been my nostalgia trip and talking about life in the 90s. Qushu On! Life in the 90s. Hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. Well, like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Even check out the Patreon, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. And because I know you're coming back anyway. Have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples!